So transferable skills you probably already have is some project leadership, a lot of presentation skills, particularly scientific presentation skills, troubleshooting, the ability to troubleshoot assays and go in a slightly different direction than maybe what was previously done, but build off of previously published work to develop a new assay or improve an assay to answer the questions that you're asking. An element of teamwork, mentoring, adaptability to different projects, different labs, succeeding in multiple different environments, laboratory environments, writing and record keeping, idea generation, especially at a postdoc level where you have a little bit more control over the direction of your project, and the ability to study independently and look at the background literature and formulate not only hypotheses, but also methods that are going to be the best to test those. Some of the experiences that you probably already have that you can use in industry interviews to highlight that you do have these skills. You've probably already managed to work with many different personalities, both your mentors as well as coworkers. For more specifics, you likely independently learned a new technique or field from going from undergrad to PhD training and then from PhD training to postdoctoral training. Usually you're getting experience in a slightly different area of your field or with some new techniques that you're interested in broadening your tool set with. And you're also, as a postdoc, you have experience beyond a graduate student in that you have a little less supervision and you have experience that you can show that you are able to remain productive with that less daily supervision. Mentioned adaptability, and you've probably already adapted both to new teams and skills. I think it's rare for anyone in graduate school or as a postdoc to say that their hypothesis was correct from the start and all assays went as planned and you didn't ever get a result that surprised you or made you reconsider the direction of your project. And so you've already got experience adapting to new hypotheses and considering alternative explanations, as well as troubleshooting new to you assays or new to the lab assays. Some questions to consider bringing up that you might be asked that's getting at your personality as far as adaptability is how do you react to non-significant or unexpected results? How have you succeeded in different labs from your different mentors briefly in your rotation, in your PhD, now into your postdoc? How have you adapted to those different personalities and different labs and different teams? And have you learned more than one way to answer a question or perform a technique? Being able to compare the pros and cons of two different methods or two different ways of performing the same method is a great way to showcase not only your independent thinking, but also adaptability. And then teamwork. We kind of have this incorrect idea of a scientist working alone in their lab on their project, but at this point in your career, that's probably not the case. And that's something that you should showcase is that you've worked with shifting team members as students have left or postdocs have left and new ones have joined the lab. You've worked with a shifting team and your work has directly supported their work. More specifically, you've probably cross-trained other students or mentees or volunteers in the lab on new skills, or even members from other labs on some of your lab's techniques. Bring up any teaching experience that you have, especially courses that are team taught. A lot of graduate level courses, if you've helped with them, involve different teachers at different sections of the course, building off of what the others have taught rather than one lecturer throughout the whole course. You've likely already published collaboratively with members outside of your immediate lab. If you have any student group or association positions to highlight those as well. And also, have you written any new SOPs for your lab or been the first person to bring a technique to your lab or be taught a technique and then teach it to your lab mates? How is your record keeping? Can your instructions or SOPs be followed by your other team members? Skills like this are things that you might not consider bringing up in an interview, but they're good ways to highlight your ability to work in a team and support others within the team. As I mentioned, mentoring more specifically than just working within a team, training undergraduate students, junior graduate students, and interns on lab techniques and practices, especially peer to peer mentoring. It doesn't need to be an undergraduate or a junior graduate student that you've supervised. If you've mentored or taught techniques to other postdocs or students in other labs, those are also ones to bring in, especially if you can say that you are an expert in a skill and that you've taught it multiple times to different lab members. And beyond just scientific presentations at conferences, you've probably already presented your work to experts and to non-scientists. So you can use this to combat the idea that you can talk in great detail about your project to other experts in your field, but when it comes to communicating with cross-disciplinary teams who might not have the same scientific background, are you able to communicate the important aspects of the project without getting too bogged down in the details? And these are the kind of experiences you can bring up to highlight this, that you do have this transferable skill. So you've probably often spoken about your work at conferences, but also to the public for any outreach presentations that your department or lab might have done. You're already used to the nuances of speaking to different audiences, and especially if you've presented at journal clubs and research in progress talks, bring up that experience as well, particularly if it's a event, say, outside of your lab where you're communicating your science to, yes, other scientists, but scientists who are not experts in what your lab is working on. Can you make that information digestible and still, yes, teach them about what you're doing and why it's exciting, but not have them leave confused about what you're doing?